So the way DAO works is that people work on client projects and then they get paid based on the value they generate. So we don't have like hourly wages per se or salaries. It's like basically there's different projects coming through the pipeline. People join up on projects and they amongst themselves split up the revenue coming in from that project. So it's really like there's no cap on how much someone can make if you're working on like a really high value project where there's a certain rate you make that, and then you can work on like any mix of any kind of project like at any like depending on the rate, but generally they stay around the same like band. So there's just like a variation between that, and that allows like for people at different skill levels to come in and like add value where they can, and then the decision making happens locally on like how those payouts happen, and we have like all sorts of like systems for doing that. And yeah, there's also, in addition, like working on client projects, we have like a referral system set up so that there's like a commission on bringing in projects. So we have some people who are more focused on just like hitting the streets, talking to people, bringing projects in, and then they know that like for bringing a project in and setting it up and getting a builder squad working, they'll get a commission for that. Likewise, we have like a referral fee for bringing in a builder. So you can make like some percent, like from the organization will give you like a percent of what that person makes, like up to a certain amount. So it doesn't take away from the person who joined, but it's just like the organization subsidizing like recruitment. And also like a more exciting, like more recent phenomenon is airdrops. So a lot of projects we work with are launching new tokens. And so as part of the arrangement, they'll also, like upon delivery, do an airdrop to all of the dOrg rep holders. So probably like the people working on it will get a larger chunk. They've been the ones like working hard and making the project succeed. But then some percent of like the tokens that the client gives will just be dropped to all the dOrg token holders, all the dOrg rep holders, which is a cool thing because then both for the client, it makes it so that you don't just have like the 3 or 4 or 5 people working on your project who are like on your team, but it's like you have all 50 plus members of dOrg who like are now token holders, stakeholders in those ecosystems. And so you just have like a really high quality community that's now on your team kind of thing. And then obviously for the builders, we just get to like all benefit from the good work that happens on all the projects, not just the ones that we're on. And so that's like the kind of economic aspect. And then we're working on all sorts of benefits to make it more like attractive and friendly for people to do this compared to like working in the corporate world or working as an independent freelancer. So recently we hired like a professional accounting firm that's offering like discounted personal tax prep to all of our members. And so the more of us that are going to use them, the higher discount we'll all get. And that's like a totally optional thing, but you can have your own personal accountant that deeply understands like DeFi and DAOs. Likewise, people can use dOrg as like a launch pad to do their own projects. So most of what we do is work on other people's projects. Client comes to us, they have requirements, and we'll execute on that scope of work. But then we're also building up this reserve as a margin on all the projects we work on, both to fund internal operations and then also to fund new projects that we want to spin out. So recently, a project we spun out was the Web3 API project, which is like a solution to like the JavaScript wrapper problem, where it's difficult to like integrate Web3 into apps. So it was a project that like a member of dOrg was really passionate about and convinced the group to like spend some of its reserved on seed funding for this project. That's now its own spun out venture. Likewise, we're producing like video right now on DAOs. We had some people with like screenplay and like film editing experience, and so they decided to make a proposal for dOrg to spend some of its reserve on generating like a really high quality video about like what working for a DAO is like what is this whole future of work kind of narrative that we're all part of. And yeah, there's just like a lot of opportunity there, I guess, over time, because we all want to, like, we're all interested in a lot of the same things, and so we want to be using like the funds we're building for that. Also, like we have like a small swag store where people can like buy like dOrg swag, and we're gonna like work more on stuff like that. And eventually we want to work back around to like the traditional benefits like healthcare reimbursements on like qualified expenses. Like let's say your Wi-Fi bill, since you're using so much of your maybe data for dOrg related work. So it's all evolving, and it's as sophisticated as it's ever been right now, but it's just getting like more sophisticated like every couple months, which is nice. Yeah, so there's some numbers just on what we've been up to. Like the projects, the TVL of like projects in total that we've worked on is like over $1 billion. A lot of that is coming from Badger, which we led development on, and Balancer, but then various other projects have contributed to that. And we've been in business for about a year and a half officially, and like half a year before that, kind of informally. And in that time, we've generated like $1 million in revenue, which has almost all gone out like to builders. But like I said, we keep a small margin for like operations and funding like new ventures. Yeah, so he's just like some highlights of projects we've worked with that you might have heard of. We'll either help people with their core development or help them with like a insulated part of their project. So for example, like with API 3, like their core team is hard at work on the entire like Oracle infrastructure, but then we're focusing on their DAO. So they started with like a simple Aragon DAO, and now we're helping them build like a custom Aragon DAO that integrates with like the API 3 token, so it can be like staked like for governance rights in addition to like the core service of like the data feeds. Yeah, likewise, we're working with Tezos right now on like building a DAO launcher for their new DAO framework and all sorts of things. So some of these are projects that have already completed, some are in progress. I'll let Roberto take over, and I'll mute myself real quick.
All right. So yeah, like dOrg is a very mixed organization, we could say. Like we're a dev shop, and like we have several different profiles, and here are just like a few examples of them. We can say like for technical people, we have Solidity experts, front-end people like React, Angular, Vue, Redux, like those normal front-end languages. We have back-end Web3 integrations. And like what we try to do is like we normally try to create squads with say qualifying skills, and say like we need a UI designer to create a mockup, and then we find the right front-end developer to build that mockup into a website, and then we can have like data analysts, people like tokenomics individuals try to work around the way of like the ecosystem, how that project in specific is going to be able to turn out into a successful project. We also have like non-technical profiles, so like product managers, communications, marketing experts, and so on. So the idea is that we focus a lot on development, and like these are the main skills that we see continuously being required across Web3 projects. So if you find yourself listed in, especially in the ones on the left, like Solidity front and back end Web3 integrations, like we have projects around those areas coming to us like very frequently. So yeah, like we're really trying to onboard more experienced developers or people who want to become, like pros at these technologies. There's like every company, like there's a lot of stuff related to automations that will help us, save more time managing relationships with clients and so on, like the DevOps and all that. So like no need to to mention them all. Like yeah, we're a very varied group of people. And how do we join dOrg? So like we've been exploring this idea of an activation challenge. So imagine that you would just want to participate in this small mini hackathon, right? So you want to spend like half a day, right, or like a weekend, a day of the weekend maybe, to create something, yours, that enables decentralized organizations. So in my example, like how did I get activated? I created a simple Jupyter notebook with Python that looked for Ethereum data from a database. And I filtered it to list like the top value transactions. And I created this pipeline to eventually generate a dashboard of transactions. Like that was the type of value I was able to deliver with my skills throughout a day. And I submitted it through the dOrg DAO alchemy platform, right? So I spent my day creating this solution that enabled people to create dashboards with a Python pipeline, and I submitted it to the DAO to review. And with that simple proposal, it took me about a day. I was voted in to become a member. I received $100 and 100 rep. Rep is like voting power on the DAO. So like we are all members who receive rep as we participate in projects and so on. And yeah, like right after I was accepted, I had my onboarding session. I was told about like all the different spaces and toolings and like opportunities I could work on. And yeah, like it was like, we have to say like it didn't stop. Like right after I was accepted, I had my onboarding session. I was participating in like internal projects. So today we're here to help you out. If you have any like ideas or like possible projects that you could think like you could get accomplished within a few hours, and like you want to send, like Sora, you mentioned you had a few ideas. Marcus, Ashton, just let us know if you have something. And yeah, like it's pretty simple. Just creating something that enables decentralized organizations. And yeah, like we'll be here. Like we have some more time left if you want to like talk more about like activation challenges or like how we work and whatever you want to ask. So feel free to shoot your questions.
All right, I'm gonna jump right in because I'm going back to what Ingamar said. Was there anything that prevented me from going through with an activation proposal? And just looking at the previous slide right here while Rob was talking, he said create something that enables decentralized organizations. And for somebody like me that is not technical, who is mostly focused on storytelling in a way, to write, to explain, to inform, to communicate ideas in a succinct way that that would be clearly understood by other people. It's a bit difficult to find something that I could do independently that enables decentralized organizations. And so I was wondering if the team, if anybody here has some ideas about what writers could do to enable decentralized organizations.
I would like to go ahead and chime in. This is Ben from dOrg, and you may have heard that the Clade project being mentioned, which is like is sort of being launched as a video content creation, but we envision as being sort of broader content creation. And a big challenge for DAOs, for decentralized organizations, for dOrg has been in communicating like how we work, like how we are different from others in an understandable sort of non-technical manner. So I think there's a ton of opportunities there in like creative writing and like how can we express these ideas in compelling ways to new communities, whether they be freelancers, people in activist space, people in sort of alternative spaces. Like how can we sort of broaden this world to other people? And so like I don't think you should look at the activation challenge as like, hey, you come up with something, we don't want to hear about it, like just figure it out. It's like, no, we want to hear your ideas, we want to hear your concerns, what you're thinking. We're totally down for doing some back and forth on you. But like while we do have a strong need for technical people because it's limiting our capacity to work with clients, like content creation is something that's emerging that we really also need. And it's also an area that we're just sort of starting to explore with providing more services to clients beyond just product development. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I'd like to jump in there with, I shared a link to, and I can screen share real quick and maybe go through some of these, but can you see my screen?
yes.
Yeah, so we've been logging as they happen, like all the activation challenges. So you can go back and see like all the successful ones. For example, like Chris here made like a reputation visualization of like the reputation of dOrg members using Python. I don't know if it's still hosted here. No, I guess not, but you could run it locally. And so that's like an example of a technical one. But for example, Magenta made a prototype for decentralized finance for on the ground communities. So basically extending DeFi and DAOs to like physical communities. So she had like a whole like product plan and like execution roadmap around how to pull this off. And so like people would comment on it, and yeah, and as it was pending, and then got accepted that way. And yeah, like just various ideas, like these range on the scale of like uh, operational or creative or technical. Yeah, for example, like more in line with the content idea, like David joined by laying out like a number of videos that could produce to like help people learn more about what we're doing and about DAOs in general. So he had like a whole like video roadmap of videos that could work. And this ended up spinning out his ideas here into the Clade initiative, which is what I mentioned, where we're developing a prototype like video for people to understand like how DAOs work. So yeah, activation challenges in the best case can actually turn into like spin out ventures or internal projects eventually.
Word. I also made a content piece as like an activation proposal. It was that DAO launcher explainer from like a while ago. So that became the activation proposal because it like helped explain something that the DAO built. I know Steph also made like a communications flow mind map for like one of yours projects called Web3 API. And that's like something that we're incorporating now with that project. So there are things you can do without like developing stuff. So it's definitely possible. It's just like some creative thinking.
Okay, yeah. I'm already getting some ideas. Like as soon as the barrier to entry went away by your support, I'm already getting some ideas. Well, one of them, the most obvious, being create a content piece, and the other would be to develop like a branding system. So in a way, to develop a process by which dOrg could provide branding services to clients, help them define who they are, who they want to be, who they want to attract, how they want to communicate their value, how they want to look like, how they want to sound like, and just develop a process that anybody in dOrg could take to extract information from clients that would then help inform designers. Not so much technical development, but maybe even technical development. I wouldn't be sure, but definitely designers and UX plays a big role with branding. So I'm thinking I like that a lot because that's something I wanted to do on my own, so I could kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I think that sounds really exciting. And yeah, one of the most exciting things for me is to see this whole like kind of dev shop model that we've done first with dOrg evolve into much more than that, with like this content and marketing and branding arm of the cooperative. And yeah, like we're starting to build that out already, and would be really cool to hear your ideas on how we can continue to do that.
Awesome. Like, is it possible to go and create something regardless if it takes me like 24 hours or less?
Yeah, definitely. I would say go ahead.
Is the 24-hour thing is to encourage people to take on something smaller, or is it to limit?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's not to limit. Feel free to spend as much time as you want on it, but
Right.
we're trying to basically say, don't spend too much time on it. Just do something fun, something simple. Let us know
Yeah,
where your
something
passions
for
are.
us.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Like initially, like until this moment, I was thinking that it must be something that is going to be sufficiently valuable, yet you must do it in like 24 hours.
Yeah, no, definitely not like that. It's not like the gauntlet style. It's more so, yeah, don't spend too much time on it. Don't be too much of a perfectionist. Just kind of ship what you got, and yeah.
Yeah, okay, definitely. I mean, like, I'm in the Keybase already, so I'll be sending something pretty soon, maybe in a week or so.
Hey, Zoran, just an idea. Sometimes to get it done within 24 hours, you just like kind of lay out the plan for the plan. Like you lay out, like make the architecture of like what the branding package would include, you know, and how you would start it and how, you know, what the results would be. But you don't have to like, it doesn't have to be 10 pages. You know, it could be like a summary of how it could work, you know, like a high level.
I get it.
If that helps a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I used mind map for mine because I wanted to describe, I wanted to work on the onboarding process, like how communications could be structured in a way that's sort of has like a flow and has like sort of like points of accountability and checkpoints, and we have different levels of communication with people. So rather than describing all of that, I just like made a mind map and kind of clearly conveyed like that I want to work on communication structures and systems, and that I like can handle it. And then that was my activation challenge. It was like one sheet, so it can also be like that form. And you can also share it with us in advance if you like want like feedback before you like submit the proposal. So yeah, I'm excited to see.
Yeah, that's good to know, and I'm excited to get started going in this direction. I don't think I'm gonna rush it. I'm not a person that likes to rush things. So I still think like it's gonna take me a week or more to get everything sorted out.
That's perfect.
And then, you know, if it works for you, it works for me too.
Perfect.
Sounds awesome. Sorry, looking forward for it. And sure, let us know if you have any questions, like want feedback whenever you're working on it. We're here for that.
Awesome, definitely. As I said, I'm in the Keybase.
Yeah, I also wanted to comment on the.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, you go first. I'll go next.
No, I was just
Okay,
gonna say I'm in the Keybase and gonna get activated a bit more.
Cool. I just wanted to comment on the cool thing about the activation proposal is that it can be on any domain that you're passionate about. Personally, I did like a decentralized autonomous record company, but it can be like you're a builder, do like something development related, or you can do like design work, or as you saw on the presentation that Ori showed, you can do even like video proposals, and that's really great because if you're creative and you're decided and you want to be in this organization, then you just pour your heart out and wait for the approval of the organization. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I'm very interested also in hearing from Marcus, who was here, and also Ashton. Have you guys thought of any possible activation challenges? What do you think?
I've thought about it some, and it's being a kind of a beginner in the space, especially with a lot of Web3 development stuff. It's kind of easy to get into, but I actually looked at when you mentioned data analysis, I kind of jumped because I didn't realize one of the activations I looked at the past ones, and I searched for yours, and it's really interesting stuff, man. And I think
Awesome.
it given me some maybe inspiration in a sense, or thoughts about what's possible, because data analysis is something that I've done quite a lot of and that I quite even enjoy. So I might see if I can combine those and see what I can come up with. It's an interesting project, Rob. Kudos.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and sure, feel free to ask any like possible, paths you're thinking of. Like if you want feedback, if you're like not sure if something will be cool, definitely be up to help. And I'm very interested. Like now that you mention it, you work with data, and have you worked with other like areas of development before? Like what interests you the most? Like data and what else? Just to know.
Well, I'm so new to all of these spaces that to say what interests me the most is kind of hard. But data has always been a thing, and if your kind of project seems to be on or I've skimmed through it. I mean, I'm gonna butcher what you've actually done, and what you kind of got out of it. But I guess from Google's BigQuery, you've got like you've looked at the biggest 16,000, I guess, wallets, and then done some conclusions from there. Is that close enough? And then
yeah, exactly. It was my first interaction with like the Ethereum blockchain. I had worked with like big data sets, and I had never used like ethers. I think it's Web3. There's a module called Web3 for Python where you can turn like the decimal ether into like Gwei, and then like all that thought process of like how much was this worth back then. How do you like represent those data points graphically with like matplotlib, like Seaborn, all those data modules that are like standard in the industry. Like I don't see them used a lot, so there's a lot of potential to like take existing data from the blockchain and like make something really cool out of it. I haven't seen a lot, and like this is something, just an idea if you're like into AI and like machine learning. Like there's a lot of data you can reach out using, for example, the graph. Like there are several subgraphs with historical data that you can like plot and maybe possibly like put through like a machine learning algorithm to find something really cool you're interested in, like DAOs, governance, or even maybe even like DeFi. Like who knows if you're like the financials. So
thanks, man. That's I will look into it, because I haven't that much looked into like Ethereum and the graph, for example, and data sets like this. But I imagine I can maybe even, or that one can read out interesting data for us, or for DAOs in general, like for example, like the total users that join a DAO or something like this, or then from the financials inside one. Or let's see. Yeah, thanks for the inspiration. I'll see what I can do.
Awesome.
Guys, I have a few questions for you. It's in general, like what would you say are the biggest challenges that your organization is facing?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, I heard some of them. So I heard some of them. Difficulty in explaining value to non-technical people. Let's see what else I heard.
I think that it's going to vary quite a bit based on like the different people you talk to.
Finding technical people, finding enough technical resources to fulfill all client demands.
Yeah, that's definitely a really great one. And the other one that I'd bring up is being able to maintain a high level of quality. So, like we've been working a lot on improving our internal processes around like forming different teams and making sure that the right people are on the right teams to be able to fulfill what the client is asking for. And not deliver things that are, under our quality bar or under what the client is expecting. And so this is like a very hard problem that really relies a lot on culture. And we want to keep it, like as permissionless and as kind of like in control of the worker as possible without instituting like managers and things like that. But we're trying to find clever ways around how to do this going forward. And yeah, it's been kind of like a constantly evolving thing. So that's from my perspective, at least, one of the things that I've been thinking about.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think with group decision making, you want to have everything be like, if you're replacing managerial hierarchy with like reputation weighted democracy, like it's important that you have a change of perspective on how things should be approached. Like you don't have like a CFO like looking at all the finances. You need these like clever bottom up like mechanisms to make sure that we don't go bankrupt. So we have like a collection of spreadsheets we use so that when you look at a proposal on the DAO, whether it's spending to pay out someone for a client project, or it's spending for operational stuff, or it's funding a new project, the DAO needs to, like a bunch of people need to quickly be able to look at the proposal, look at how much it's asking for, and know, okay, is this like comply with the rest of our finances? Like, is this a risky, or, you know, just knowing that kind of stuff, like really quickly, like split second, like aggregation of split second preferences is kind of the goal. And so you need to like enable those kinds of decision making. And we've done that through like basically like spreadsheets and stuff like that, where you can quickly like look at something, see it adds up to the proper amount, see that there's like a buffer and whatnot, and you can get, okay, I can vote on this. So like, even though I have no idea what that person's doing, because there's like, you know, over 30 people that are like actively working, I don't know, you know, some person on some other project that I've never touched is doing, but I can quickly see, okay, they're asking like the total sum of the proposals to pay this milestone out is adding up to like the budget that was allocated. And so that's a really simple case, but there's more complicated cases like, hey, we want to like do this new like upgrade of our onboarding flow. So we want to like fund 3 months of work on that. And so you have to look at like, okay, what's going to be like the ROI on that? Is this like a sustainable spend? So that kind of stuff. Like I think like budgeting and decision making through voting is tricky, but there's like tooling that can help.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So basically, it's evaluating, sort of like I'm getting the mix between delegating responsibility to a group, to a body of people that are distributed, and also making executive level decisions that would impact all of the other areas of the organization.
Right.
Exactly.
I kind of think about it as like, how do you build that like executive level like intelligence like into the organization itself? So like, how does one person learn something, and then how do all of us learn it? So it's like we want to absorb the lessons from every group and every project, and how do we do that really like cleanly and proactively without creating a management layer? You know, like without creating that layer that we're so used to, where someone's just like standing above, looking down. You know, how do we build it like across and sort of shared peer-to-peer kind of on the cultural, like, and I think like what Jordan said about culture was really true, but yeah, things transmit like well through culture when there's a good conversation in, you know, in our shared groups, then there is like a mindset shift that happens, and like people do change and they do like become like new again, like when they take on the next challenges. Another thing that's interesting is like, how do you not create busy work? Like, how do you not create like as an administration that doesn't want to have like really a center, like it doesn't want to have like a administrative layer? Like, how do you not create busy work for like the necessity of like administrative kind of work? So that that also has to do with like making sure that you're like iterating on processes in a way that like works for the specific uses of like the members. so that we don't like have a bunch of people who just have to like sit around and file, you know, like, so those are like some of the challenges that I've seen and that I think like I'm interested in working on.
So Steph, it's basically, from your perspective, it's how to avoid generating the need for managers in a decentralized organization to really challenge the status quo of what we as modern people, you know, prior to Web3 know one organization to be. And I'm not so sure I understand what you meant with the second part, because I caught myself thinking about quality control and, you know, like how does it work right now? How do you ensure that you're sticking to whatever the cultural demands for quality are at the moment?
You
Hey,
learn through
what's up?
experiences. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, what's up, Soren? I just want to jump in and like, maybe, yeah. So this is like, I was gonna mention something very similar. It's like, how do we take decisions like without having to rely on everyone saying, okay, do it, and like for instating that culture of like, okay, we all know, agree that this is like common practice because it's agreed upon because so and so and so. Like you have all these many reasons to justify like behavior, like through like group doing like behavior cohesively. And like what we've been trying to do is like listing those things. We have like a handbook documentation so that people when they jump in, like they should be able to have that info ready to be accessed. But we also like try to reinforce it through like bi-weekly syncs. Like we try to be like a very person to person DAO, right? So we have the syncs. We try to like go over important topics. Like when we find something that another team member is doing and that we think will damage either like the project or the organization or even like another member, like we reach out. Like we're very open about like those sort of situations to handle them before they become something, you know, that would create risk or whatever. So we try to move forward with these sort of approaches, and like we discuss them. We try to be very open and transparent and talk a lot about it and like try to synthesize like those say pills of like culture into short paragraphs that we share. And like because not everyone's going to be on that call, like not everyone's going to be able to watch that video. Like, so how do we keep track of all that? It's like reinforcing those points. I think like that we're trying to do something like that, but again, it's like we go over iterating possible ways to approach things, and then they come to agreement through talking, through consensus, sharing ideas. And yeah, like adding to like top challenges, I would say a lot of the things that we see often is like we're accustomed to do things one way because it works with big companies and like established organizations. And then when we try to apply it to DAOs, it just creates everything, like makes everything a lot different, like more difficult.
Yeah. And
so, yeah.
Sorry, piggybacking on specifically is like that happens a lot. There's a strong tendency towards bureaucracy. Like we're all from the modern world trained to think like bureaucrats. And so I've seen this happen in a lot of DAOs where it's like, oh, it's open and flat, decentralized. And then certain people just start like adding on layers and layers of bureaucracy. And there's like this format for this kind of proposal and this process and these people it has to go through. And so it's just very easy. I think it's like something you have to be always aware of and actively like thinking against, which is like the tendency to bureaucratize, because eventually like that makes an organization like a collective or group of people like stale, and it just prevents new people from joining because you see this thing that looks, you know, interesting to you, and then you get a little closer to it and you're like, oh God, I have to like learn all these crazy processes that they've developed over time in order to get involved, and then it turns a lot of people off, and like things can get stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
I think to work against it, you have to like everything new that you want to create, you either have to build it completely in, or you have to like, it has to be so obvious that it becomes trainable, like on this level of like, it's just so obvious. So you don't create like a big manual, like for running the DAO and how decisions are made. So you have to like, everything that we learn and discover and build, I feel like it has to be like,
Organic.
it has to permeate. Yeah, it has to permeate to this level that's like much more than if you were just building a company, you know, and you could just have like, you could have silos, like you could have information silos. That would be fine. You know, that would be fine practice, you know, but like you can't have information silos. You can't have knowledge silos. You can't have leadership silos. So you have to like literally like distribute.
I completely understand what you're saying. Like the same things I've observed, like with DXDAO, just difficulty and making decisions, because like decentralization in many ways liberates us, and in other ways it really constrains us, because it makes it difficult to make an executive decision, and that's generally a good thing, because the longer time you take to make a decision, the better this decision is going to be usually. But at the same time, there are dangers of groupthink. You know, like something's been done many times over, and a decision looks similar, but in reality, it's just the culture looking at it through the same lens as it has looked at other problems. And it's definitely a worthy challenge. Like it's not something that's easy to solve, and as Steph says, I do also believe it should be arrived at organically. But I'm happy to hear that you're striving, you know, like you're fighting against the natural tendency to dominate. Yeah. This was very informative. Thank you for sharing, guys. It gives me a much clearer picture about what's going on inside the organization. I mean, as an outsider looking in, it's not so obvious and easy to see as it is for you, being inside the organization for as long as you have. And our conversation today will definitely influence my activation proposal.
Amazing.
Right.
We should do an extended interview with you, and you can write a piece.
Could be. Who is dOrg? How does it work?
Yeah, why not?
Hey, I had a few questions.
Go ahead.
Shoot.
First, I wanted to throw out my activation challenge idea. I've had an idea I've been kicking around for a while for like a simple variation on a Moloch DAO, where essentially instead of, you can kind of spin off. So when there's a decision that you agree with, rather than the rage quitting mechanism, you can kind of spin off into a separate DAO. And it might be something I could do in a day to modify, like to fork one of the Moloch DAO implementations in Sticky UI and add that feature. Would that be something that would be interesting for that, you think?
Definitely.
Totally. That sounds super cool. So,
Cool.
so like whenever there's a decision, you spin up a new DAO, a new Moloch DAO?
Not every time. It would have to be something enough people really, you know?
Like rage
so
quitting.
much so that they wanted to split off and do their own thing. It would be optional. You could vote. Exactly. It would replace rage quitting is the idea. Rage ejecting.
Rage fork.
That sounds pretty cool.
Rage fork. I like it. Perfect. The other question I had was just people at all levels. I mentioned in my intro that I have like a year of professional development experience, but for the past few years, I've been doing other things. So, assuming I could build something worthwhile for the activation challenge and pass that part, do you think there would be, would fit in as a pretty relatively junior developer?
Yeah. So
totally.
yeah, like we have, like we said earlier, like people with different levels of experience, and so one of like the quality assurance improvements we've been working on is having that flow from being new to being like more of an experienced and then a veteran, more like explicit. And so now we have this concept of once you join, you're not instantly able to like go and work on like a super high risk client project necessarily, but there's a host of things you can do. So you can work on internal projects, like for example, we're doing a redesign and implementation of our landing page right now. Some people who like maybe were just UX UI designers or were more back end before, now want to run front end a little bit better. They're using that as a chance to upskill while getting paid and providing value, but it's like less high risk. So we also want to start fielding more hackathon teams. There's always virtual hackathons going on, and that's like a zero risk opportunity for a group of people to try something new. And so we did field a team. We almost fielded a team at like this Ocean Protocol hackathon recently. We ended up not just continuing because like the project was too complicated, and there was like a different person who was we were like helping someone else with their project, and then they basically stopped. But that's something we want to like do more. Like we fielded a team for HackFS. That was like where we prototyped the Web3 API. And so yeah, we want to do more of that. Like newer people or people who want to try something new can like form squads and then be like, representing dOrg at Hackathon XYZ. And those are always happening now. It's not just a weekend hackathon, but there's these like month-long hackathons where you can spend however much time you want on it. So that's like an upskilling mechanism we want to start using like a lot more hackathons in addition to like internal, like low risk projects.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds perfect. I'm doing this Market Make hackathon that starts on Friday. I'm entered in that right now, so
awesome.
Be interested in that.
Cool.
Globals, okay, thanks.
Right.
Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah,
they're pretty cool.
There's also some ways. Go ahead.
Sorry, like very, very quick. Like we participated for the HackaFest one, which was ETH Globals also. Like their technical team is very good. So if you have any questions, like do reach out. Like something we would have definitely benefited more from and like didn't use that much back then was like reaching out to those technical people who are like pretty much experts. So yeah, just one tip.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Awesome. Steph, you were gonna say something. Sorry.
I was gonna say something. Well, I was gonna say, the way that teams get put together. So like, having someone who's maybe trying to learn, working with someone who's a little bit more experienced. It's possible to find opportunities for yourself that are challenging, but also don't sort of like put you in a position that like you're just not prepared for. So that's like an important thing about the way we put together our teams and the way we kind of structure like good communication between like more senior experienced developers, or we can even put in place like mentors if a project really is something that you might be able to pull off, but you may need sort of a mentor or someone to check in with you. So yeah, we definitely want to focus on providing opportunities to upskill and empower developers of all levels of experience and so
that's awesome. It sounds like you're really accommodating.
Another in addition to like internal work and hackathons, another upskilling like tool we have in our box is shadowing on client projects. So you can kind of just be a shadow on an ongoing client project with, senior and experienced people, and help them with tasks here and there, get compensated for that. You're not like relied upon as like, okay, you are the front end developer for this, so if like you fail or leave or whatever, like the whole project falls apart. So there's these like low risk ways that we've been like experimenting more and more with.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I think it would be really nice to be able to learn in a production environment, but at the same time, not be worried that I'm gonna break everything, ruin everything for everyone. Perfect.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's also one of the benefits of working in an organization rather than like trying to get hired by yourself as a freelancer, because like we can put together a team that kind of meets the overall needs of the project, and you'll be upskilling and someone else will be mentoring. But the project is still like in good hands. Has enough motor, and also is like has enough oversight. Yeah.
Awesome.
These are all really good questions. I'm like writing them down that we should put them into our presentations in the future about experience levels.
Great. If there's no more questions, then I think we can call it. Thank you all for coming and for the great questions. And we're all available like in Telegram, Keybase, email to help out with like any questions about the activation process. We're doing a big push right now to bring on more Web3 engineers because demand has just been going crazy, and there's not that many Web3 engineers in the world. So if yourself or anyone you know or connected to want to join, like, yeah, let us know and we can help you through the process. We want to like get the call out to more Web3 communities. So I know you're all in different ones, and you're welcome to join yourself. And then in addition to that, also try to like, bring on a friend or two that also like matches the profile. So we have incentives for that sort of thing. And also, just fun to work with people you know and trust. Cool.
Awesome, guys.
Sure.
Thank you very much for coming, for being here, participating. It's really great getting to know you. Really happy that we're doing this like continuously now. Like, I mean, the DAO Rush Weeks. So yeah, it's a pleasure. Sorry, Marcus.
For being
Ashton.
Thank you guys.
That is
Thank
nice.
you for organizing this.
We're here to help you guys, so feel free to shoot. And welcome again to the revolution.
Yeah, definitely. Like before attending this call, I was like not really certain to be very active in the Keybase. I've been watching from afar, but after this and after meeting all of you, I find that you guys are extremely supportive and you're open, transparent, and I think that dOrg, looking at it right now, it's something that I want to be part of. So I'm gonna do my best to earn my spot.
Oh, that's great, man.
Just do it, Nike.